Many people seem to interpret the Barbie movie as saying Barbie is the pure hero of the story while fighting off the evils of Ken and his male brethren, and Barbieland as the ideal model for what society should be. But in reality, the movie says something completely different when you actually take the time to listen to it. Because the threat Barbieland faces in the movie is a result of the oppressive way the Barbies have mistreated and marginalized the Kens. The fallout that occurs when one of the Kens goes to the real world and feels seen, listened to, and respected for the very first time in his existence. And the impossible way both the Barbies and the Kens evaluate their self-worth and importance. I'm here to tell you that Barbie is like the Grinch. In the end, she may be the hero, but as things start out, she and Barbieland itself are actually the villains of the story. I'm John Campea, and this is why Barbie and Barbieland are the villains of the Barbie movie. Now, some people have tried to wrongfully categorize Barbie as some sort of pure man-hating, man-bashing movie, but in reality, that's not what it is at all. Now, before we get going, it needs to be pointed out that this video will contain a lot of spoilers for Barbie, so if you haven't seen it yet, you may want to skip this. And with that said, let's dive in. The movie opens in Barbieland, and we instantly see the caricature of what some people think Barbieland represents before the movie itself subverts those expectations. At first, it seems Barbieland is an idyllic world where everything is perfect, everyone is happy, and the world is exactly how it should be. But writers Greta Gerwig and Noam Baumbach, subtly at first, start to paint a picture that shows a massive class disparity. Barbieland is for Barbies, first and foremost, and Kens are less than second-class citizens and are treated as such. The Barbies' attitude towards Kens are highlighted in two significant scenes. In the scene where Barbie is going back to Barbieland with her human friends Gloria and her daughter Sasha, Gloria says, "Don't tell him, but I never got a Ken." To which Barbie revealingly replies, "That's because Ken is totally superfluous." In other words, to Barbie, Ken is completely unnecessary and not needed. And Barbie doesn't even have the politeness to pretend otherwise to Ken's face. When Ken asks to stay the night with Barbie, she harshly replies, "You can go now. I don't want you here. This is my dream house. This is Barbie's dream house. It's not Ken's dream house, right? And it's girls' night, every night, forever." And by the way, as a side note, as far as I can tell in the movie, Kens are homeless in Barbieland, or just live on the beach. I've seen the film a couple of times now, and nothing suggests in the movie that the Kens have homes of their own. Homes, or dream houses, are the exclusive privilege of the Barbies. So, back to Barbie basically telling Ken he's completely irrelevant. The humiliation to which Barbie never even gave a second thought to comes up later in the movie after the Kens take over Barbieland, when Ken says to Barbie, "This is my Mojo Dojo Casa House, not Barbie's Mojo Dojo Casa House." How's that feel? It's not fun, is it? Every night is boys' night. It wasn't until this moment that Barbie began to understand the terrible way she and the other Barbies had mistreated the Kens. She realizes that Ken didn't bring a problem back with him from the real world. Barbieland was just as bad, if not worse than the real world all along. But we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves. Ken's awakening, if you will, happens with the simple act of a woman in the real world asking him for what time it is. Startled by the fact that a woman would just acknowledge him without him first asking for that acknowledgement, caused Ken to blurt out, "You respect me." How ignored, how marginalized do you have to feel that the simple act of somebody asking you for the time makes you feel seen and respected for the very first time? That was the existence of the Kens. Now, later, as Barbie tries to confront Ken about taking over Barbieland, Ken, filled with hurt, exclaims to her, "You failed me. Out there, I was somebody. When I walked down the street, people respected me just for who I am. One lady even asked me for the time." The Barbies had to face the fact that the trouble in Barbieland was a direct result of their own inexcusable behavior towards the Kens. And that harsh reality didn't end with just the Kens. When Barbie goes to the real world expecting that every woman there will revere and love Barbie for all of her perfection and what she's done for the real world, Sasha shatters her expectations by letting her know that Barbie is actually hated by a lot of women. That Barbie's projections of beauty and perfection was the source of making girls and women feel substandard and not good enough. Sasha lashes out that Barbie is actually the enemy of women. This destroys Barbie emotionally and leads later on to her asking herself a lot of existential questions about her own identity and what gives her value and worth. What we are seeing here is that Barbie is the problem. And it's not just Barbie, it's Barbie Land. Because while some people may see Barbie Land as that idyllic model of society, Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach let us know that even with all of its problems, the real world is the better world. They reveal this through an exchange Barbie has with Ruth's ghost in the Mattel offices when Barbie says to her, "The real world isn't what I thought it was," to which Ruth replies, "It never is. And isn't that marvelous?" The real world, not Barbie Land, was marvelous to Ruth. You see, Ruth understood that the perceived perfection of Barbie Land was based on the lie that perfection and only perfection was the standard. Barbie measured herself by this unrealistic bar, wrapping up all of her self-worth and self-identity in that notion. Barbie has an emotional breakdown when she realizes her own imperfections, saying, "I'm not smart enough to be interesting. I've never done brain surgery. I've never flown a plane. I'm not the president. No one on the Supreme Court is me. I'm not good enough for anything." So when Barbie realizes that she's not actually perfect, all of her self-worth and self-value go right out the window. Now, this is an important step for Barbie, as painful as it was. It was this moment that we start to see the core message of the movie for both Barbies and Kens. The point Gerwig and Baumbach make here about both the Barbies and the Kens is that their collective problems come from how they each identify their own worth, their own value. Barbie only saw herself as having value if she was perfect, pretty, and able to do anything. Ken only saw his value in being seen by Barbie, or his ability to beach. Things, accomplishments, jobs, all these things we convince ourselves make us who we are, actually get in the way of us finding our true selves and our true value. Barbie helps Ken come to this realization too later in the film when he says, "Ken is me." Barbie's emotional breakdown leads directly into what I consider to be the most important moment of the movie. Gloria explains to Barbie all the hurdles, challenges, and contradictory natures it is to be a woman. In her monologue, Gloria gives a laundry list of all the unique challenges and hardships women face, the imperfections and struggles that Barbie has had to come to terms with. But here's the key thing. Gloria doesn't blame men for these challenges and obstacles. Gloria clearly lays out that some of the challenges come from men, some come from other women, and some come from themselves. No one is to blame because everyone is to blame. This is hinted at earlier in the movie by her daughter Sasha when she says, "Oh, come on, everyone hates women. Men hate women hate women. It's the one thing we can all agree on." Greta Gerwig didn't make a movie bashing men as some people would lead you to believe. She made a movie that basically talks about how all of us are messed up and how men, women, ourselves, and the flawed society that we've built are all partially responsible. In the end, the movie presents two false ideas of an idyllic society. To Ken, somebody who suffered humiliation and marginalization from the Barbies, it's patriarchy. To the Barbies, who base all of their self-worth on an unrealistic ideal of perfection, it's Barbie Land. But at the end of the movie, Ruth points out that neither are the answer when she says to Barbie, "Being human is pretty uncomfortable. Humans make things up like patriarchy and Barbie just to deal with how uncomfortable it is." Ultimately, the Barbies realize that Barbie Land can't go back to the status quo. President Barbie highlights this when she says to the Mattel CEO, "I don't think things should go back to the way that they were. No Barbie or Ken should be living in the shadows." Now, did the Kens overreact by trying to completely overthrow the Barbies and take Barbie Land away from them? Sure, maybe. But that only came after decades of being treated really crappy by the Barbies. Greta Gerwig ultimately made a movie about how hard it is to be a woman sometimes. She didn't make a movie about how it's men's fault. Anyone who tries to tell you otherwise either didn't see the movie, didn't pay attention to the movie, or is just trying to make the movie out to fit their own agenda. Because in the final analysis, Greta Gerwig made a movie about how we are all messed up, how we're all partially to blame, and how we all need to start treating ourselves and each other a little bit better. What exactly is there to argue about with that message? I'm John Campea, and thanks for watching.